Hello everyone, welcome to another video, and we're back in iRacing this week to give the Formula 3 car another try. We actually managed to pick up a reasonably decent result last time out at Mount Panorama just by avoiding the dangers and keeping our nose out of trouble. And I think we're going to have to do the same today because we're well off the pace here at Imola. I've only just bought this track on iRacing, so it's my first race around here in the sim, and we've had limited practice time, so the best I could do is a 140.5. It means we're well off the pace. However, we will start from 12th on the grid, but that's mainly due to nearly half the field deciding against putting in a qualifying time. I've also noticed that there are a couple of cars on the grid that seem to have really high ping. Hopefully that won't be a factor in the race, but let's get over to the grid because the lights have gone green and we've got away really well. There are actually a couple of gaps on the grid in front of us there, so I'm guessing a couple of drivers have decided to start from pit lane. So with that in mind, we won't be too aggressive into this first chicane. We've got to get 25 cars through here safely, and we've already lost one of them to the left. Now, I deliberately took a wider line into that corner. I wanted to leave as much space as possible on the inside to help these guys try to get through safely. As a result, it compromised our exit speed. We've lost one position to Zoo, but Frederick De Vitter's out on the gravel and he's coming back on, and we had to take avoided action there to miss the contact. And there's another car in the barrier at the hairpin. They're dropping like flies here on the first lap at Imola. And ever since we swerved to avoid De Vitter a few corners ago, we've been unable to get back on the racing line. We've always had someone side by side, and we still have here. We're going to have to get right off the gas to make this turn. That's going to compromise our exit speed again, and we're going to have someone else alongside us now, so we still can't get back onto the preferred line. We're out too wide. We can't get it stopped on the AstroTurf. And that's a disaster. 3 cars past, 4, 5 cars going past. We've lost a bunch of positions here, and we've got a slow down penalty to boot. Another car goes by. I've got no idea what position we're in now. Oh no, and we've got a blinker as well. It's just getting worse and worse here. And yeah, that evasive action we took to avoid De Vitter earlier in the lap has absolutely destroyed whatever rhythm we had. We got off the line and we just weren't able to get back on it. There were swarms of cars all fighting for position, and it forced me to take a wider entry into Minerali than I would have liked. Too wide, in fact, because I clipped the AstroTurf and I just couldn't get the car stopped. And I've got no idea at all what position I'm in, but we'll find out shortly because we are about to cross the line to finish lap 1, so we'll get confirmation of the standings in the relative board, and we're 15th. So I think we've lost a good 7 or 8 positions after that near miss with De Vitter, so we've got to regroup now, and we've got to hope that this ping issue that Lee in front is experiencing isn't going to affect us. It's going to make it really difficult to try and overtake safely. And I tell you what, Lee's running really hot into Villeneuve, too hot because he's out onto the gravel. Well, I can breathe a huge sigh of relief about that. I was absolutely dreading getting closer to that car and having to try and make an overtake with such an unstable connection. But we've got the position back. We're up to 14th. Right, let's take a look and see what happened on lap 1. And the first driver we lost was Felipe D'Agostino. Now, he started right in front of me on the grid. It looks like he just got caught out by a combination of cold tyres and a heavy throttle foot. Then we had to take avoiding action to protect ourselves against a possible T-bone as De Vitter span back onto the track. We got really lucky there, but it did mess up our rhythm for the best part of half a lap after that. But before then, we lost another driver, and it was the pole position man, Miguel Moreno. And then by the time we approached Minerali, I'd already lost a couple of positions thanks to being offline. And then I get it all wrong here, trying to brake on the AstroTurf. The car just won't stop, and we lose several more. Back to the live action now at the start of lap 3. We're confirmed as being in 14th place, but we've got young Choi less than half a second behind now in 15th, so there's going to be no time for a rest here. The 3 cars in front are all within 2 seconds of us, so it's early in the race. All is not lost. And I don't know where to look. Joy behind has got it all wrong coming into Villeneuve. Sanataro got it all wrong coming out of Villeneuve. And there's 3 cars in the sand at Tosa. Incredible stuff. I think that puts us up to 11th with about 2 seconds of breathing room. Yeah, I wonder if I'm too slow through Villeneuve, and that's what caught Choi out. He comes in really hot, but he wasn't out of control until he got close to me. Then he locks up and loses it. Meanwhile, this is the battle for 8th. Watch Joseph Tuffle up the inside. He spins, and 2 more cars have nowhere to go. Well, Tuffle was the quickest of that trio to recover, and by the start of lap 5 he was right on my tail when I made this mistake coming into Tamburello. Not just one curb, but 2 curbs, and it costs me all my speed. And in the end, it's an easy pass for Tuffle to take that 11th position back. Jumping forward to the end of lap 6 now, and another faster driver has caught up with us. This time it's Frederick De Vita. We saw him get it all wrong on lap 1. Well, he's closed the gap right in, but watch him in the rearview mirror. He's going to get it all wrong going into Rivazza, and that is going to give us a lot of breathing room. Now we've got nearly 2 seconds back to Lee in 13th. Meanwhile, further ahead, Tuffle in 11th has opened up a gap of more than 4 seconds now, so we've got no chance of keeping up with him. But with 10 laps to go, we're looking okay in 12th position here. In fact, we've been promoted to 11th, so we must have lost one of the top 10. And it looks like another one of the top 10 is in the sand, because that's Sean Grace. He was in 6th. He's going to rejoin, but he's well down on speed, so we're going to be able to get alongside and get past into the top 10. Now the big question is, did Grace pick up damage when he went off track? He's right on our tail, and we know he's going to be faster than us, but we don't know how well that car is handling. Well, before we check out the replay to see what happened at Tamburello, let's just watch De Vita closing in on me at the penultimate turn, but he just runs it in too hot and locks it up. Shortly after that, we learned we'd gained another position, and it was because of this incident. Rudolf Reif getting a big shunt from behind and sending him into the barrier at Tamburello. And then a lap later, we were able to gain a position and move into the top 10 ourselves, picking up the pieces when Sean Grace span out here. But to answer our question, no damage. Well, we're approaching the end of lap 7 now. We haven't come under attack from Sean Grace yet, but I'm sure it's not far away. He's within half a second. Exiting the final turn now, on to the start and finish straight, and Grace has binned it! So we won't be coming under fire from him after all. Yeah, a lap ago we saw De Vita mess up the entry into Rivazza, and now we see Grace botch the exit. Returning to the live action halfway through lap 9, we're still in 10th position, but unfortunately we've got Lee for company again, and if you look in the rearview mirror, he's still got that ping issue. We saw a couple of the cars flickering and jumping about on the start line before the race had even started. I did worry then that it might play a part in this race, and it does get really distracting. Not to mention dangerous. It's hard enough at the best of times to avoid wrecking in iRacing, but when you've got a car that keeps flickering between visible and invisible, it makes it even more difficult. So we're going to have to make a judgment call at some point here. Lee has clearly got some speed, but I don't want to give up this top 10 position now. I want to be able to defend it, but whether or not that's going to be possible with his car bouncing and pinging around all over the place, we'll just have to see. If I think it's getting too dangerous and we're risking picking up damage, or even worse, putting ourselves out of the race, we will just have to let him by, but hopefully it won't come to that. However, it looks like he might be sizing up a move as we cross the start-finish line. He's got a bit of draft. He's going to pull alongside. The car is still flickering. And you know what? It's just not worth the risk. I'm going to let him have that position. And the car disappears again into Tamburello. But yeah, I just didn't feel safe or confident battling with this guy when the connection is so unstable. In fact, it's going to be just as hard following him now, because that car disappearing is really distracting when you're trying to find your braking point. But he's well down on pace coming out of Villeneuve, and we're going to have no choice but to make a move up the inside here. That car is all over the place. I don't know where he is. Oh, this could go wrong. We're side by side, but the car is pinging all over the place, and I'm just going to have to ease back. I don't feel safe being anywhere near that car at the moment, and with all this, Kieran Hemming behind us closed right in, so he's going to be challenging now too. Now, amid all that panic, I didn't even realise that we'd gained another position, and it was because of this. Agayama in the top 5, but clipping that curb at Tamburello, and he clearly picked up some major damage because he wasn't able to even turn in at Villeneuve, and he retired out of the race. A lap later, Adam Turner in 4th had a similar incident, but he was able to rejoin in 8th position with no damage. So yeah, when I surrendered that position to Lee, I thought I was surrendering a place in the top 10, but as it turns out, we're still in 10th, thanks to Agayama knackering his suspension on that Tamburello curb. Lee's connection still pinging in and out, but he is at least a second ahead now, so it's not quite as distracting as it was when we were right on his tail. Instead, we've got to concentrate on Kieran Hemming. He's 0.5 of a second behind, although I see a puff of smoke ahead and the yellow flags are out, so two drivers have come to grief. It looks like it's Joseph Tuffle and Salvatore Sarnataro. Now, we saw both of those drivers earlier in the race, but they had a quick enough pace to break away from us. But are we going to catch them now? Did they pick up any damage when coming together there? It's obvious that they're battling closely together, and now they've got the added distraction of that high ping from Lee to contend with as well. So yeah, we could get on their tail here. The trouble is, the first driver we're going to come across is that disappearing car of Lee. Oh, we were just carrying a bit too much speed into the second part of Villeneuve there. That's cost us speed on exit. We're going to have to go defensive into the hairpin, but that's surely going to invite Kieran Hemming to make a move. We're not going to be able to get on the gas as quickly as I'd like coming out of that turn. It's going to cost us more speed and more momentum along this straight. Hemming's alongside. In fact, he's just got his nose in front and he's able to run around the outside. So now we are down to 11th position. And it was exactly the same problem as I encountered on lap 1. I was on that inside line, and it just doesn't do you any favours when it gets to that fast left-hander. So we've got 4 laps at the end of this lap to try and do something about it and get back into the top 10. But I'll be honest, I don't fancy my chances here. We just haven't got the pace around this circuit. I'm paying the price really for lack of practice time. I mean, I've done plenty of laps around Imola in race room, but it feels completely different in iRacing. And throw into the mix the fact that we're in a new car that we're still trying to learn and get to grips with. But speaking of grip, Hemming ran out of it there in Rivazza, and we've actually got our top 10 position back. Well, this was the incident between Sarnataro and Tuffle. Sarnataro's holding 5th position, but Tuffle runs into the rear of him, and they both spin out on the entry into Rivazza. And then a lap later, Kieran Hemming, having just taken my 10th position, gifts it right back to me. On to lap 14, we're still in 10th and we're managing to keep De Vita about 1 second behind, but look in front, Sarnataro's out to the gravel and he's going to rejoin right in front of us. We switch to the inside and we're able to get around him, avoiding any contact, and that promotes us up to 9th position. However, it might only be temporary. Sarnataro has rejoined and I don't think he clipped the barrier at all. He wouldn't have picked up any damage from that excursion, so we know he's fast and we can expect that he wants this position back. Well, we're going to jump forward to the 15th lap, and thankfully Sarnataro is more preoccupied about defending from De Vita. Those two are having an almighty battle behind him. It's allowing me just to maintain that 1 second advantage. Oh, and finally we found a much better line through Villeneuve. It may have taken us 15 laps out of 16, but we've got there in the end. We were much smoother through that section. Not that it's helped us though, because Sarnataro is now just 0.6 of a second behind, so he has gapped De Vita, and that means he's no longer concentrating on defending that 10th position. He is going to be gunning for 9th and he's hunting us down. And the question is, with 1.5 laps still to go, are we going to be able to hold on to this position? Oh, and he's sideways into Minerali there. Sarnataro threw everything he could into that corner and he is gone. Well, we were just asking if we had enough to hold on for 1.5 laps. That's answered that question, and it might get even better because Lee is off too in the chicane. So all of a sudden, we've gone from trying to defend 9th position to being in a comfortable 8th. Well, let's check out the replay. This is how we made the pass on Sarnataro. He runs into the gravel at Villeneuve and watch the rejoin. He's going to get right back onto the racing line, but so down on speed, we have to react and switch to the inside and then try and get back onto the racing line to defend. We then saw Sarnataro gradually get closer until this moment into Minerali, where he gets completely sideways, and that costs him all his drive. And just as I was thinking I was going to have a comfortable 9th place, it got better because Lee, still pinging in and out of connection, binned it at the chicane. We get through and into 8th position. So yeah, with all the drivers around me spinning out or losing control, we had a fairly quiet last lap and we were able to bring it home and take the checkered flag for an unexpected 8th position. But not only that, we've added a further boost to our iRating. Just last week we got to 1.7k for the first time, and we've now added plus 30 onto that tally. And a fairly clean race too, so even our safety rating gets a bump. So a good day all round at Imola. And one thing's for sure, having done a few races in this series now, we are nowhere near fast enough to compete with most of these drivers. However, we still keep picking up decent results just by keeping it safe and keeping it on the track. Here's the classified results for this one. And yeah, check out those fastest laps. We are well off the pace compared to the vast majority of drivers inside this top 20. Most of them lapping in the 138s and 139s. We're down in the 140s, but in the final results where it ultimately counts, we are 8th. So another successful day in iRacing. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll be back on the grid for another video very, very soon. Cheers for now.